shouldn't always try to look so good. 50 years can be gone in a blink of an eye. People never who you think they are, like you've never seen before. How the hell are you supposed to know? Just another friend drinking and doing blow. Paperbacks where they hit that dough, like you've never seen before.
Hey, welcome back in. We've got Dino back in here today. We're going to take a spin through another one of the glam super groups, or at least perceived to be such. Ian Hunter and his band of Motley, I guess Motley crew of Mott the Hoople. The original lineup: Ian Hunter, Mick Rouse, Vernon Allen, Peter Over and Watts, Dale Buffen Griffin. We'll talk a little bit about the original band, but surprisingly with this band, I think one of the things, at least I discovered from going through that, is that the early catalog was a little bit either stagnant or stuck in the mud. They came certainly from a pub beginnings. You can tell by the band as they went. Later members, let me go through them really fast. Some of the other ones that came on: Morgan Fisher, Ariel Bender, actually Mick Ronson towards the end, and then you had all those new guys. But what did you think, Dino, of going through this, man? It pretty much blew my mind, but in a way I wasn't expecting.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things if you haven't listened, for a long time. And, we're talking early 60s, or not early, I'm sorry, not early 60s, but early 70s, really heavy through the 70s. They were great. They had their moments, and then they had some not so shining moments. And they had a lot of turnover. There was. I mean, if you look at the past members, my God, it's a football team. It's you know what I mean. It's like the past members. See, 1, 2, 3, like over 20 people floated in and out of the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they had a base. They changed singers. They changed guitar players. But I think I think they're most that Pete Over and Watts and Dale Buffen Griffin and Ian and Ariel Bender and Morgan Fisher and Mick Ronson and Mick Rouse, of course, before he left to form another little band called Bad Company.
Yeah, made a little dough. Yeah,
and went on. And actually, I'm not a huge Bad Company fan, but I will say this: he went on to form Bad Company, which was more commercially successful than Mott ever was.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how some of those bands ended up like that. This band originally toured the pub circuits, was called the Doc Thomas Group. They got somehow horseshoe fell up their butt, and they got signed by Island in 1969, and so that's where it kind of started.
Right.
They were going to break up actually at one point before Bowie. Bowie kind of helped them out, and we'll talk about that album later. But
now
anyway.
I went to the reunion shows in 2019. I was at the Mott the Hoople 74 show in Cleveland, Ohio. So what a place to see them, Cleveland, which is, and then of course, Ian's Cleveland Rocks, and Cleveland's just always had a relationship with that band. I think they hit Cleveland quite a few times. So it was kind of really neat to see them there. It was sold out, and it was literally a 70s museum. I mean, that's the show where I just met a ton of people in Uriah Heep and old Bowie and Lou tour shirts from like the 70s and wearing like these shirts that they were at these shows. It was amazing. And I could talk to all these people before the show. I mean, you'd be in the urinal in the bathroom, there's a guy standing next to you with like some Zeppelin 76, and you're like, were you there? He goes, oh yeah, man. And it was great, man. It was just I told my buddy that I was with, I said, I wish that I would have taken pictures more at like before the show and during the show. I ran into so many cool people, and it was a great show. Now that was Ian's Rant Band, which is the current band that he had used until he got sick right after those shows. He got the tendonitis took over, and that was the end of. He was going to do another wave of the 74 shows, and we were going to go to DC to see him in DC. And then the tendonitis kicked in, and that's it. He hasn't toured since. That's been 6 years now. Uh, but that was Ariel Bender, Morgan Fisher, and Ian, and then the Rant Band. His band was the rest, and they were tight. You know,
Yes, the second incarnation because he was after Rouse was first and he was second. Yeah, the
right? And Ariel, oh man, he was having so much fun. It was just he
wow.
was enjoying himself. Like he hadn't
Yeah,
done that in decades. You know.
I like that band. You know, one of the big players. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about one of the big players being Guy Stevens, the same guy that the Clash.
With the
Oh,
Clash, yeah.
yeah, Sandinista and some of the others. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. I
and
mean, and even at a and there were people that were associated with the band. I mean, the funny thing at that show when the lights, I'll tell you who opened that show, the Dream Syndicate. Steve Wynn and the Dream Syndicate opened that show. They played like 4 of the dates. Ian handpicked his opening band. So the funny thing is when the lights went dark and you heard this voice. It was completely dark, nothing on the stage, and you just hear this voice blasting out of the speakers in the dark, and it's Bowie. And Bowie, it's an interview Bowie did back in the late '60s, the '70s, when he first went to a Mott the Hoople show. It was like the day after. He was talking to somebody in London, and he goes, "Yeah, I was out last night, and I went to this club and I saw this band and they were fantastic." And then the guy's like, "Well, who's the band?" And he goes, "Oh, they were called Mott the Hoople." And then the lights just came up and they were on stage and they
wow,
started into the first song. It was Bowie did the intro for the tour. It was amazing.
that's so cool, man. That's so
Oh, it was
cool.
great.
Anyway, though, man, let's get started on this. We're also including, the actual Mott records. There's 2 of those. We didn't go ahead and extend it to the British Lions. We stopped at that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but but I'm going to start off the rating, Dino, and we're going to start off, and I'm going to start off right away with that shock that came out uh, in 1975. There's no more Ian. There's no more Ariel Bender.
right.
Who guys, it was a completely
What is
different.
that? Which one do you have there?
Drive On. This is 1975's Drive On, for the first record after the exodus of Ian, Monte Carlo, Stiff Upper Lip, The Great White Well. I mean, it's all Mott. It
Yeah.
sounds like Gail Griffin had more to do with it. He's in the front, but it's a pop music. The singer doesn't have a voice anything like Ian. They don't have any sort of
No.
completely different thing. I mean, if it's they shouldn't have been any connection. There's no problem with having a band like this, but it should have been the British Lions,
It should
probably.
have been called something else.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's not the same. And that's my number 9. That's on Columbia. Believe it or not, Columbia in the States didn't terminate their contract. They probably renegotiated the damn thing, but they didn't.
Yeah, well, my 9 is, wow, from '76, Shouting and Pointing. I
Okay,
mean,
put that up, Joe.
huh?
Put that up there, Joe. I don't have that one on vinyl.
That was it. It was Shouting and Pointing. Uh, and that was right before the British Lions. It was the second and final album released in '76. And it's the only Mod album to not chart at all in the US or the UK. And
No,
right
no.
after that album, they were dropped by CBS.
Well, yeah, they had Sony, and I don't know. Did it get a U.S. release? Maybe. Yeah, I guess it did.
It did, but like I said, right after that, CBS was like, "That's it, we're done." And
Look, yeah,
yeah, Shouting
I'm
and
looking.
Pointing.
Yeah, I understand that, and while we're at it, dude, we'll just keep that right up there, Joe. That's my number 8. Is Shout 1976. I like it a little bit better, not much better. To me, maybe it's the fact that it's pretty even with the first record, but it's really nothing like them. And I'd gotten at least used to the fact that Mott the Hoople was dead. I may be able to better judge
Yeah,
them separate. So I kind of preferred it, but I didn't really play it anymore. But I really didn't hate it like I hated Drive On. Drive On just to me was a shock. I mean, because I thought they made.
yeah.
You'll find out later the ratings. I thought they made some pretty great music right before they stopped, and
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
a shame. But yeah,
So that's your number. Your number 8 is Shouting and Pointing.
yeah, Good Times. The Vanda Young song at the end is probably the only
Yeah.
one of kind of note, and
Well,
that's
leave. We can go back. My number 8 is Drive On.
There we go,
So,
man. Pretty close on. There it is, buddy.
there it is.
Was it?
Yeah.
Tell me about your reaction to it. Do you remember when you first found out that hey,
I
they're really
yeah, I did, and I don't know. It was just it was like it was uh, I was never real. I don't know. I guess I was so addicted to a lot of the earlier music, or
yeah
not just that, but the some of the albums that were coming up on. And I mean, this was released in '75, so it was kind of in their heyday. It wasn't, it wasn't, 1981 or way past the due date on the band. It was, it seemed like it was, former members of Mott. You know what I mean?
yeah yeah.
Uh, so
Probably they put out 3 singles. They didn't put any singles out from the other one. You know, some of the at least it got a lukewarm reviews, whereas Shouting and Pointing, the one you put in the last one, got just putrid, just like the
right, but it was a and it followed Mott, which was a top 10 album in '73. So this was the follow up, Drive On. You know,
yeah yeah. I think the Hoople was after that, wasn't it? With Ariel Bender, I think that came after that.
yeah,
Didn't it? So yeah, it followed up that one, but hell, that had a lot of great stuff on it. I mean, that
right.
it definitely finished. I get your point. It finished heyday. It finished during it.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
kind of
hey,
like it was the last. It seemed like the last gasp of the band.
yeah,
In some ways.
agreed, man. Agreed. All right, we're done with the two, and unfortunately, we're done with the two Indians. We're done. We're going to start here. I'm going to go to number 7, and let me
Yeah.
just start at the top, buddy. Mott the Hoople, the first record, Mott the Hoople. I
Yeah, I
think
kind of.
sound to me at number 7. This is a sound, even though I do prefer it to those other two. This is a sound to me of a group not ready to make a record. I think they were a
Yeah,
great band. But I mean, when you start off with an instrumental version of "You Really Got Me" as your lead-off song on your first thing, man, it's
it
pretty weird.
it
It
kind of
got
just takes you out
long.
of the whole thing when you
Yeah,
like when I went back and listened to it, I was like, what the hell is this? Why
yeah.
of all
They,
things to cover? I mean, this is a
yeah.
band that could have covered a lot of other music, like more
Well,
something more in that they're influenced by, but to do a
mhm.
instrumental cover of "You Really Got Me," I just it was wild.
And then they followed it up with a Doug Somm cover, and then they followed up with a Sonny Bono cover.
Yeah, that's
We have the
right.
first Ian Hunter song, which is just this meandering, horrible thing, and he's not really ready for. You know, "Rock and Roll Queen" is the saving grace on it. It's the first song on
Well,
this,
they
and have
I
respect.
I guess when you get offered a contract, you know,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
first thing they want to do when they offer you the contract is get your ass in the studio, you know.
well, yeah. And here's a tipper. We talked about "You Really Got Me" as if it's not insult enough. They don't even have enough material to avoid an instrumental outtake from that, erroneously credited to Guy Stevens to finish the record. They just figured they kept going on the solos and they did
1960,
that's all it is. Is you really got me part 2, but they
not
claimed it was
yeah. I
it's
mean,
crazy. Anyway, that's my number 7, man. I think 69. To me, it was to go back and listen to it. I was really surprised, and that's where the surprise started. I went through again and re-listened to all this stuff, and it would really surprise me. But that's
yeah.
number.
Mine is my number 7 is Wildlife from
Okay,
1971.
got it, man. Here it is.
You know,
And what
uh,
is it?
listening to it over again, Ian kind of got away from that Bob Dylan comparison and everything a bit. Um,
That's it.
you know, it charted in the UK that year in '71, and like you said, produced by Guy Stevens, and one of the engineers was Andy Johns on this album. He started, with them. A couple of good songs. I like, a couple of the songs on this. A little bit Angel. of 8th Avenue, Waterloo to a degree. The Mick Ralph songs I'm not crazy about on this one.
Gotcha.
But I certainly can hear on the Mick Ralph songs, I can hear a little bit of where Bad Company ended up being, with his writing and everything.
Yeah.
It kind of, you can hear it, a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
this was Ralph's and Verdon Allen on organ and Overland Watts and Dale Griffin and Ian, it was the classic lineup for
I got,
Wildlife,
and so that's your number 6, correct?
It's my 7. You
You're
did your
that's
7.
right, my 7. I'm going first. My bad. My bad.
Right.
Well, that's your number 7. I don't have it here with me, Joe. Even though I have it here, I don't know what the hell happened to it. I've got 2 copies of it actually back on the shelf. But my number 6 is going to be Mad Shadows from 1970.
Oh,
A lot of people like that record a whole lot. I tell you, to me, this is right about the time when who's the leader of the band? Who's the lead singer of the band?
right.
It's a jump ball. I mean, Ian Hunter by this time, or
Yeah.
even by the time of Wildlife or Brain Capers, had not established himself as the lead singer of the band. Because I'll tell you
No.
the truth, when you get up to early records, I prefer most of the Ralph songs to Ian. So Ian sounds like you say, either stilted on sounding like Bob Dylan, or
Right.
or 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 some long dramatic 3-chord thing where they lament either about rock and roll or about old times.
Well, there's a
I
lot of songs that lament about the old days of rock and roll. I mean, it seems like, when you listen to
yeah
sometimes,
yeah it is. But Thunderbuck Ram. You got Threads of Iron. Those are both songs by him on this set that I like. But I just Walking with the Mountain again is the one that you heard live. It's the one
yeah,
from that you basically heard live. But again, there's lead vocals and co-lead vocals. I mean, I think that he sings co-lead vocals on a couple of the songs on
right.
it. Ian sings kind of in a different style. So I don't know, man. I just don't think it was polished. I hear all this shit about how it's a great record and the Clash loved it and everything, but I don't hear enough originality in this. I just hear the same ballroom 3-4 chord rock that I hear on all the stuff that they perfected later on, but
Yeah,
at I don't think it had enough focus, and I'm really not that crazy about most of Guy Stevens stuff. I mean, I don't want to give it away yet, but that's the truth.
right.
So that's number 6, and that's Mad Shadows from 1970.
Mad Shadows at 6. My number 6 is, we've already covered it. We've talked about it, and it's Mott the Hoople from 1969. Yeah, the original.
The Reptile
The
record.
reptile. Well, that front cover on that, it kind of, there's some similarities to some graphics that I saw for Talk Talk, actually. One of
Wow.
their yeah, yeah, and I gotta find it. Yeah, it's weird. Not too much the lizard, but the front cover.
Yeah,
There's a little,
almost reminds you of a King Crimson cover or something.
yeah, and that also, yeah,
Neat.
absolutely,
Ian looks kind of different here.
yeah, yeah,
They got the rolling papers on the front as I'm looking at. This is an island. I have an island. I'm lucky enough to get an island copy of that. I have an island. Before it went over. But yeah, that's the first one, man. So that's your number.
that's my 6, I think. Yeah,
Your number
6.
6. Ready to go to number 5. I'm going to go to a place that you were at before. We discussed it a little bit, but where it was still a jump ball, man. Wildlife. It's still
Wildlife.
a ball with who is going. I love Whiskey Woman is great.
Yeah,
Lay Down is kind of weird that he do that as a cover. I think that's really kind of strange. Keep a Knockin' I really don't like. That reminds me of just
yeah. That's the live track. Yeah,
yeah, let's do something that we want to do. Home is Where I Want to Be is good. Original Fab. Original Mixed Up Kid is an okay song, but I'm still not seeing as much. I mean, some of the songs from Ian are you
yeah.
know, they're the same, but they really haven't reached the complexity
No,
or the thing of what it is. So that's why I like Wildlife a little bit better, even though at the same time, I think vocally it's just not presented that Ian's the main one. Now you may look at the cover here and think of it, but if you look at the cover, actually Mick Rouse is further in the front of the cover than the back there. I mean, so it's I don't know. I mean, Vernon Allen still played a big part of this. It's funny as it moved on. I think he became less and less of a his influence, and it's
Yeah.
always the same in these pop bands. I mean, the keyboard player kind of like Graham Bond kind of runs the show, and so that's where we are with that. And so that is my number 5, and that is Wildlife, 1971. They had
Your
two.
5 is Wildlife. My 5 is Mad Shadows.
5 is Mad Shadows from 1970. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We talked about that. What particularly about that? I mean, are you? I mean, I remember the songs Thunderstruck.
Well, Thunderbuck Ram,
Yeah,
uh,
no,
that was Mick. That was a Mick. Yeah, and the
both.
the songs were pretty long on this one. 5,
Yeah,
6 minutes.
yeah,
A
yeah.
couple of the tracks were really long.
Yeah,
Like When My Mind's Gone was 6 minutes and 25 seconds, and
only
I'm
three
not.
songs. Yeah, there's only 3 songs second side. So
Yeah, on that side, and then there on the CD in 2003, they had a few extra cuts.
yeah,
And they were short. One was 1:50. One was How Long was 3 minutes 54. But yeah, I mean, it was still the band, and I listened to this again about a month ago, and Walking
weird.
with the Mountain is one of my tracks. I've
Yeah,
always liked that.
yeah.
Thunderbuck Ram, No Wheels to Ride. The longer tracks on side two, I wasn't.
Right.
I'm a 3 chord 3 minute guy most of the
Yeah.
time.
Especially yeah, with these guys for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I want a nice, it just seemed, I don't know, they just
Forced. Kind of forced.
yeah,
Uh,
and it was released in what, 70. Yeah,
September. Yeah. Yep.
Mad Shadows. So as things started to grow, they started to grow, you know.
Yeah.
And the songwriting was pretty good on this one. Mick Rouse, kind of like you said, going to the top. You don't really know sometimes who's he's lead vocals. On most of the album, Ian is.
Yeah. People
Uh,
dark. People call this record murky, dark. It had a dark
yeah,
overtone
it did have more of a dark. You know.
too, which is
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, but yeah, that's mine. Mad Shadows is pretty good. I can listen to it again. It's one of those albums. It's one of the Mott albums I can listen to again.
Yeah.
You know,
Gotcha. Well, now we're going to move on into if we're moving down to number 4, then we're going to move into where I think the best stuff is.
the meat
And
and potatoes of the situation.
I think so. And I think this is the best of the early bands with the Brain Caper Kids here. Brain Capers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
1971, the second record from 1971. Wildlife
Yeah.
was, and this is the second one. It's hard to believe they had 2 and they weren't live records, but it's got the
No.
great of Death May Be Your Santa Claus, which was previewed as Dino said as a bonus track on an early version of that was on the end of Mad Shadows there, the last bonus track. Darkness is a cover. The journey starts to get better. I mean, Ian Hunter starts to get better. Then Angeline. Uh,
Yeah.
the, but the one for me that's the most overlooked one that never happened there is the third song on the second side, the Moon Upstairs.
The
I
Moon
think that
Upstairs, and that seems to be a rare Ian Hunter Mick Rouse
yeah.
collaboration. They always wrote separately. It seemed like.
And
You know.
I guess maybe that was why they didn't want to play it. I don't know, but I think it's special. I mean, I think it's really should have been if there's ever one that was ignored and a band that really needed good songs. I mean, that freaking song should have been a staple, and that is such a good melody and such a beautiful thing. The playing's good, the production's better. This is the last of the Guy Stevens records, and it sounded like maybe he learned some lessons from the others. I do believe production was part of why I didn't like the other ones. But
Yeah.
this one it really starts to come out. And I think there's a better consistency to this. Yeah, you had songs, in my opinion, on the records before this that really missed that you didn't care if you ever heard again. I think
Yeah.
this
You
is
don't care if you ever listen to him
yeah,
again.
on
And
side A.
there were a
Listen,
couple other writing credits on this
yeah,
one.
Yeah,
Dion wrote Your Own Backyard, and then Jesse Colin Young,
yeah,
Darkness, Darkness.
yeah.
They
It
always
needs to be.
pick like weird covers sometimes. Like,
Well, they're well versed though. They go for Jesse and they go for Doug Salman. They got good taste. I like
yeah,
that.
but I mean, it's so strange where they go on their when they
Yeah,
do a cover. You know what artist? Uh,
it is. But that's
but
the brain.
yeah, I
Buddy.
think this is part of the big four brain
That's it.
capers.
That's my number 4, brother. That's
Well,
it.
I'm right there with you. Number
Okay.
4 from 1971, Brain Capers. I'll do the same. You know, do you know the initial working title of this was AC/DC?
No, no idea.
Yeah,
Wow. I wonder what
yeah.
that was. I wonder was it kept in one of the songs or
That would
something.
have been nuts, wouldn't it? If they'd have called the album AC/DC.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But I freaking love that Moon Upstairs, man. And that last song's not, that last weird thing is kind of again, them
Oh,
stealing.
the Wheel of the Quivering Meat
Yeah.
Conception. That was
Cool.
Ian Hunter and Guy Stevens goofing
Yeah.
around on that
Ian
one.
said, if you're going to do it again this time, I'm going to get credit. Like, really got me retake on the first one. But
So, what's
yeah.
your number
Right.
3?
Okay, man. Time for my number 3. Okay. So we go to number 3. I know the big wonder is what's number 3 going to be? And it's probably going
Oh,
to
I
differ. It's probably going to differ from yours
well, the
because
top 3 probably will.
my number 3, as much as I love it, as much as I like it, the Hoople, number 3. It probably surprises you. I know it probably surprises you because I know this was the one around Kaiser that everybody drove around and listened to. The Crash Street Kids. And now you're dead. Now you're dead. Marionette and all that. Born late 60, 58. Great stuff, man. Roll away the
Yeah.
stone Christ. I mean, there was a pop sophistication of them that really entered on this. And it's funny that Ariel came in because Ariel, the way he presented himself, was a little more of a loose cannon, a little wilder guitar
Oh,
player.
yeah.
Then it was kind of more Mick Ronson-esque, except raunchier than even Mick Ralphs or Mick Ronson himself. And so this is produced by Watts, Griffin, and Ian, and arranged by Ian. But you can tell Ian has the golden age of rock and roll is so slick. It just surprised me there's not some corporate hand in that. And the production of this, like songs like Marionette and Alice, man, they never had songs anywhere close to that.
No, Marionette was great.
Marionette is a masterpiece. It's like a classical piece or something. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing. Roll Away the Stone, 2 big hits. Golden Age of Rock and Roll, Roll
Yeah,
Away the Stone.
yeah.
Uh,
It's man, and it's amazing. This is where it ended, right? This is the last
this
of
was
or it turned
yeah.
into Ray Benjamin or whatever after this.
You know, this thing charted at number 28 in the United States, which is
I
pretty good.
I listened
Uh,
to it. It was the one that hit me, man. I loved it. It's hard for me to look at this and say that it's because it was more contemporaneous with me. The other ones were kind of hit before. This is right about the age I came into it at 14.
yeah.
Probably the one I got new or closest to new that was current, and then went back and get those other ones. Of course, I knew all the young dudes and everything else. But anyway, that's my number 3. Love for this band. I know there's a lot of complexity with Mix Ralphs and Rick Ralphs and that coming in and Ariel Bender.
Yeah.
The
Now
post,
here's a bit of trivia. Carrie
yeah,
Ann Moeller that's a famous album cover with the faces in her hair. She's a
yeah,
model.
uh
She
huh.
also was on the cover of Roxy Music's 1972 debut album.
Oh ho ho ho.
Same lady, same model.
And did you know the one of the girls on Country Life was the guitar player Michael Caroli's wife from Can. One of
Oh,
the
really? See,
on
I
on
didn't know
Country
that.
Life, Michael
I did not
Caroli's
know that.
wife. Yeah,
No.
I mean
Well,
it's
that is. You might as well leave that baby up there because the Hoople was my number 3.
whoa. Dun, 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 dun. I'm surprised, man. So we
No,
got
don't
to
be
get through. Good.
surprised.
I'm so
That's it. Yeah,
wow.
classic.
It was great.
Love that album. You know,
Yeah,
and
it was.
they mined it. They played. They when I saw them in 19, they dove into the Hoople. Well, you got to
Man,
remember
this.
they had Ariel. They had Morgan Fisher. That was everybody from the band except Overland Watts and Dale Griffin were on stage. It was Ian, Ariel, and Morgan. So
It's just this record was the most conscious in our town.
well,
Most
they called the tour Mott the Hoople '74. So that's that's what this is the album they dove deep into
yeah,
that show. You
it's
know.
just it's a classic. It certainly reminds me of what was going on in my life at that time. It's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Kind of like the record. It's about the same period of time. We're talking about the new thing. I showed everybody the inside things that we got. You
Oh,
saw.
did you?
I don't
Yeah.
know if this or not, but I'll get you a copy of this, man. This just came in the other day. This is the
Oh,
inside.
okay.
I ordered them separately because it was way price prohibitive to do it. It blew the whole deal that we were going to get from Pirates. So, but this is the insert, and so it actually has to match the car ride stuff. I got one for you here, man. Don't
Oh, I
go.
got it. Cool. Very nice.
Wait, that's done. But anyway, that's number three for me. Let's get back to this. Number three for me, and number
Well,
three.
it was both. The Hoople was we were both in agreement on number 3. So you got to go to your number 2.
Okay, are we going to have a lock on the top three? I
No, I
bet we do.
doubt it. I doubt it.
I bet we do. My number two. And the only reason, again, could be because of sophistication. And we know that we both love one and two. And
Yeah.
if you are telling the truth there's some days where
You could flip flop them. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
You could.
agree. And for my number two, I'm going to go with the production of the Thin White Duke and all the young dudes is my number. It's a hard call, but the cover.
It is a difficult call, you
The
know.
covers, I think what brings it down is the Sweet Jane on this. I'm not happy about that too much. And
Yeah.
Ready for Love reminds me of Bad Company, but I mean it's early, man. Like Jerk and Crocus and Sucker and one of the boys. Oh my God, Mama's Little
Uh
Jewel. Jesus God, man. This is the
yeah.
last one that really was high on. You look at that picture. I love that picture of Watts there with that long gray hair. See him there with that freaking.
Oh yeah.
That is a rock.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's my number 2. All the
Oh,
young
cool.
dudes. Yeah.
Agreement, man.
Just leave
Man,
it right up there. Same thing. I got to agree with you across the board. That's some people refer to it as the Bowie album, you know,
yeah,
and that's when he really, he stepped in. He
well,
gave them all the young dudes. Now I've seen Bowie do the song many, many times,
me too.
but that song, and then he made his version was great, but there's something about this original version, and with Mick Ronson on board, you know, uh,
I
as producer, you know, um, wow,
I agree with you, man. The other one here is he did Ready for Love. Actually, Virgin sang on Soft Ground here on there's that's after the little song between that before Ready.
right,
But this is a main man production. Ronson had something to do with it, and it's in the same time frame as Transformer. I mean, it's in the
yeah,
same
sucker
time
man.
film.
Like
Yeah,
I
great.
cranked it up a couple weeks ago.
Oh, me
Uh,
too.
Jerk and Crocus, One of the Boys, Soft Ground, Ready for Love, Sea Diver. Opened with Sweet Jane, which was, and that's that, you can say what you want, but I bet that cover had a lot to do with the fact that Lou was involved, He
Probably did.
he probably said, oh, I've been hanging out with these guys in New York, and oh yeah, we like Lou. Yeah, you guys should try it, this Velvet song, So
The death,
yeah,
fault and advertising from the 20s or whatever.
yeah, it's the album that will always be remembered for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that'll always be, all the time. Uh, it's a classic. It's going to be one of those classics that's from the '70s. I don't. That's when people think of Mott the Hoople, they think of all the young dudes. That's just the way it works. Not me necessarily. It's high on my list, but not always. There's other places I go to pull songs from, but this was they were hitting on all cylinders in '72 for this album also.
No question. And I guess to set up the unanimous number one, obvious number one between you
Yeah.
and let's talk about a band that came off that and had to face that kind of pressure. David Bowie's away and
Right.
way to cooperate themselves and produce a record as good as this. This is produced by Mott the Hoople, their best record, number one. It's number one for both of us. Recorded at Air Studios in Abbey Road, February through April 1973, and released late in 1973.
Oh yeah.
Mott, Mott, Mott
Mott
Hoople.
peaked at number 7 in the UK. It was a top 10 album in the UK.
The end of McRalph's. This is the very end, the very
Last
last.
album and the first without Verdon Allen also. Organist
Correct.
Verdon Allen left.
That's right. Stripped down and they kind of let the pub influence or the circuit or whatever you want to call it go, man. This record all the way from Memphis is just a crusher. Whiz Kid, I like even better.
Yeah.
Boogie Boogie's Good Violence is a classic. Driving Sisters, great. The Battle of Mott the Hoople was a little bit soft. I'm a Cadillac is up. I Wish It Was Your Mother, but the consistency of this record
Oh
is
yeah.
unlike the other ones. I mean, it's a high quality, and that's what makes it all the more astounding. They produce it themselves. Now you get Andy McKay comes in from Roxy and helps them out, and
Yes.
Graham Prescott comes in on violence on violin and stuff, and Paul Buckmaster and cello. But I mean, and that's one of the interesting thing you need to say. The sophistication again of a song like Violence is just again off the chart, and it would be like we said, replicated with our number two and with our number three really record, the Hoople. It was even more, but I think
Right.
it's a happy medium between the simple, straightforward thing, the punchy thing, and it got a little more decorated with the Hoople. And like I say, even 3, 2, and 1 for me are somewhat of a jump ball. I generally my whole feeling about this whole thing, Dino, before I turn it over to you, is that listen to this again. I thought the catalog was richer than it really was, but at the same time, the high points were high points, but again, like I hinted at early, I think too many songs talking about how great rock and roll is and how great. I just don't, the
Yeah.
50 all is long, and for this mythology stuff, to me, it's kind of wears thin a little bit when you I don't know. I just don't. I thought it's not interesting enough for me lyrically because some of the other shit when you just have like Violence and Crash Street Kids and
And
stuff like
Whiz Kid. Yeah.
fabulous. Oh my God, Whiz Kid's great, man. But
Yeah.
anyway, off over to you, man. That's where it's unanimous number one here.
Well, that's it. I agree with you across the board. There's really not a lot to add. I mean, I mean it. God, it was solid. It was just it came out at a perfect time. It was during the height of the band. When they were hitting on all cylinders, and that classic lineup: Griffin, Watts, Rouse, and Hunter. There they are, all 4 of them on the album. Uh, you know, but wow. And Morgan Fisher on piano. And like you said, Andy McKay. Uh, yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
I tell you what, I think a lot of times when you talk about the rock power of this, I really love that rhythm section. I mean, Watts may not be the best player, but
oh
Griffin
yeah.
proves they hit sometimes when these things are just get you down your soul.
They that rhythm section of Watts and Griffin reminds me of the Spiders, Bowie's
Oh,
Spiders.
yeah,
That solid drum and bass,
yeah, I see that.
Woodmansey. Yeah, I mean that just it's recognizable. You know.
Yeah, Boulder and Woodmansey. I agree. I have a
Yeah,
lot.
you know
Lot.
that's the band that I'm. That's the band that I really wish never broke up, and the main man didn't break them up and give him new personnel, because they would have played with him for 15 years if they would have never left his side. And Bronson, that was a 4-piece that rivals this 4-piece. When I think of that time period, this
Yeah.
is what I think of. I think of those guys. I mean, that would have been one hell of a double bill, switching off, playing
Oh yeah.
together. It would have been amazing to see that in London.
Same time
See
period.
see Mott and the Spiders together. That would have been.
If the Spiders would have stayed, and you're thinking you're only asking for one more year of the Spiders, if you're talking about being
Ye-
contemporaneous. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, this would have been right. They would have been right in the wheelhouse with them.
yeah, you're
And
right.
both bands solid as hell, man. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
especially at this time period.
I
Uh,
agree.
yeah, I mean
What?
the '70s. They're when you talk. My two favorite four pieces are these two bands at that time period in London, UK bands. You
Yeah,
know.
great stuff, man. Well, we're going to
Oh,
come back to our songs. Everybody, remember to leave your own list. Please like this. I should have said that at the onset. I do start
yeah.
on
Like
here.
it or at least view it. I get some kickback sometimes from I was on with some people from the Lou Reed group the other day, and they're like, "Oh, if I do a like, then you send me." I was like, "Well, just view it then. You know, view it and leave your list. You know,
That's important.
if you're paranoid about liking something, at least leave your list and leave a comment. You know, and view
Why are
it."
they paranoid about liking it? That's so
I have
weird.
no idea. I think somebody he got automatically subscribed or something. Maybe he didn't want to. I don't know. I've never ran into that myself,
Yeah,
but
unsubscribe. It's not a problem. We got guys that want to come. Hopefully, we'll be able to move this thing better, and it's going to move on into doing some stuff about our thing, which you're going to
oh
hopefully
yeah, that'll be coming up soon.
coming. And some of the bumper music we got on this thing's actually going to have
Yeah,
some
so
new records.
that'll be good. Yeah, so that's good. You know, leave your top nine for Mott the Hoople. Any comments you had? If anyone out there saw the 2019 show, please let me know what show you're at before the tour was canceled. Because they did do Detroit, Cleveland, quite a few cities there in the Midwest. So like to see who else might have attempted to see that show.
Well, this is neat. We had all three the same, and we'll be back at you guys shortly with your list. Please leave your list below, and we always appreciate you being along with us here. And Dino and I will return shortly with our top 10 Mott song.
Absolutely. See ya.
See you guys.
I got a friend in California. Get the crew, we're gonna join ya. I got a ring as it comes alive. It got hot, too hot for fucking hillbillies. Things are split and it took off way back east. We got the frogs start to feel the heat.